Imagine this scenario. You're nearing the end of a 9 to 12 month journey to become qualified to write a CGD. The class you've been waiting for is only offered once every 9 months, and you have been waiting 3 months to take it. During the time you've been waiting, you've assisted with the research, identified acceptable replacement parts, documented critical characteristics, understood what the component has to do in order to perform its nuclear safety function. You've done the work around the process, but you've never owned it. And you've never performed the procedure start to finish. And because of that, you have no real understanding of how to actually perform a CGD. Finally, the class arrives. 2.5 days, consists of a PowerPoint lecture, outdated materials, no demonstration of a CGD being performed, and no opportunity to write a CGD and ask questions. You walk out of the class is over. And now all you have left is a mentor helping you write one for your as a ghostwriter for your qualification. And that class, that 2.5 days you spent in classroom, it didn't really teach you anything you didn't already know. How would you feel about your training experience? More importantly, how prepared would you feel to actually write your first CGD? That's the experience these engineers were experiencing. And because of it, the different facilities and different organizations were performing that same process differently. And that's why we created the blended learning solution for the CGDs. Welcome back. It's Thursday and I'm Jeff. And you know what that means? It's time for another discussion on the 5 pillars of good instructional design. Last week we discussed the revision to the CGD curriculum. We talked about that the CSE manager knew he had a major problem, but thought all we had to do was revise and update the training. What our analysis showed, though, was just updating the course would not solve the problem that he was seeing. Instead, we needed to update the entire CGD curriculum. And if you missed that video, I recommend watching it before watching this video. I've included a link to it in the video description. Today, we'll go into the solution for the training courses, the specific design decisions we made when building both an e-learning and the ILT, and why we made those decisions. Now, we looked at the costs and benefits, and it was apparent to us we needed to create a blended learning solution, writing a brand new e-learning and revising the existing ILT, where the e-learning would then serve as a prereq to the ILT. Since it's the prereq, let's talk about the e-learning first. The e-learning had one job. It had to give the engineer a cognitive foundation that they would need before walking into the classroom for the ILT. They didn't need to know everything about a CGD, not the history, not the regulatory framework. They had the required reading for that. Specifically, they needed to know what critical characteristics of acceptance were, why they were considered a must-have, and what information went where on the company's form. We also introduced them to the 3 different types of CGDs: normal, generic, and continuation, and when each one of them could be used. But that's as far as we went. That decision, what to include and what to leave for later, was Pillar 2, Strategy 3. Separating the must-haves from the nice-to-haves. Now, these engineers needed to know that the 3 different types of CGDs existed and when they were appropriate. But at that stage, they didn't need to fully understand all the nuances of a generic CGD and continuation CGD and how they were different from the normal process. That depth came later in the ILT exercises. So that in this case, the 3 dedication types were both a must-have and a nice-to-have, and that's how we approached it. Without the foundational knowledge that we were establishing in the e-learning, the changes we had planned for the ILT wouldn't have made sense. But with it, the engineer could then finish the e-learning, walk into the classroom for the ILT, ready to do the work. The sequencing of the e-learning was intentional. Pillar 3, Strategy 1, intentionally sequence the information. And we're going to mention Pillar 3 Strategy 1 repeatedly. It was a prime focus when we were writing these courses. We started with what a CGD was and what it was meant to do. Then we introduced the concept of a critical characteristic of acceptance. And only then did we introduce the company's CGD paperwork. Concept before form, context before detail. Once we got to the form, we introduced it section by section. Pillar 3, Strategy 2, breaking down the material into absorbable chunks. Each section of the form was introduced and explained at a high level. Then we broke it down further, block by block by block, showing and explaining what specific information would go into each individual block and why. 2 levels of chunking, the section first and the blocks within it second. The learners arriving at this e-learning were also not starting at zero. Pillar 1, Strategy 1, speaking to the learner where they are and where they're going. They had already taken multiple prerequisite courses to the e-learning as part of the curriculum. This laid out the foundation for this specific course. So they understood what a nuclear safety function was and why each component would have one. They didn't re-explain, so we didn't have to re-explain any of that. This e-learning spoke to them where they actually were. They were experienced engineers with a foundational knowledge, and we built directly on that. The e-learning was not designed to be just a check in the box on the path to qualification. We maximized the use of motion and graphics to create the most engaging experience we could. Pillar 4, Strategy 1, designed to motivate. The engineers had been waiting to take this class. So the e-learning had to be purposeful and relevant, and just not a prerequisite to get through and sign off. At the end of each topic, we included a knowledge check that confirmed understanding before moving to the next section. And at the end of the e-learning, we had a comprehensive exam that served as a gateway to the ILT. Pass it, and you could register for the class. Now, we designed the e-learning to cover the foundational and cognitive information, what e-learning works great for. What we now needed was an ILT, and I've been using that term throughout this video, instructor-led training, that covered the psychomotor skills the engineers would actually need to complete the CGD. The decision to have the ILT be a single-day exercise-focused learning experience, that was intentional. It was made in direct response to what the analysis showed us. Unintentionally, we had created a situation where engineers sat through a PowerPoint-based lecture and walked out without the opportunity to learn the company's expectations and standards when they went to perform a CGD. The only way to address that business need and that gap was for them to actually practice performing CGDs. Pillar 4, Strategy 2, require meaningful action in practice. Making that case to the original course developer and facilitator, it took a little bit of convincing. And she didn't resist because she thought it was a wrong approach. She was protective of the course she had built, natural human response. She felt that the existing curriculum structure was sufficient and that ghostwriting a single CGD was enough. It wasn't until we sat down and walked through building each exercise together as a team, she understood what I was hoping to achieve and the intended outcome and how that fulfilled the business need. And to be honest, she was dancing on the ceiling when we finished the rebuild because she didn't have to teach the class anymore and she could focus on being a CSE. The ILT was built around 7 exercises. Each exercise followed the same pattern. We did a facilitator-led group exercise where I walked the class through the process and the class could ask questions about why we were putting certain information where. They would then do the same exercise on their own with different information. At the end of their individual exercise, we came back together and had a group discussion where they could talk through the answers and ask questions why certain information went where or why people made the decisions they made. And then we sequenced the different dedication types intentionally. Again, Pillar 3 Strategy 1. Exercises 1 through 3 covered a normal CGD. That with exercise 2 being a individual exercise and exercise 3 being more challenging than exercise 2. We didn't give the class all the information they needed, so they had to find that information and fill out the forms differently. Exercises 4 and 5 covered a generic CGD. By this point in the day, right after lunch, the engineers were already familiar with what a CGD form was, what information went where. We just had to teach them the differences between a normal CGD and generic CGD and the differences on filling out the form. That was because we're using the same form. It was a natural step in the sequence. From there, we moved to continuation CGD. And this is where the class structure changed a bit. We have already done 5 CGDs. They understand what information goes where. So we saw that we didn't need a group exercise and an individual exercise. We cut it and only had the facilitator-led exercise. But we taught them the nuances of a continuation CGD, the new form they were using, and how it worked in conjunction with a normal CGD. And that a continuation CGD can be used for a normal CGD or with a generic CGD. So we had to teach the generic before we taught them a continuation. Again, that sequence was intentional. Finally, exercise 7, we created an exercise where they had to go through existing CGDs and find the intentionally inserted errors. Then at the end of the exercise, we came back and they had to explain why they answered what they answered and what the error was. It was written this way to act as a review of the class and to prepare them for the exam. The sequencing decision, as I said, was Pillar 3 Strategy 1. But it was also Pillar 2 Strategy 1, stating what a successful learning outcome is and is not. For us, a successful outcome was an engineer who could write any of the 3 types of CGDs correctly and independently. So that required the normal type to be mastered before the continuation. That sequence wasn't arbitrary, and it was also the only logical order because the content required, it was what the content required and what the outcome demanded. We had a 2-part exam at the end of the day, which mirrored the 2-part CGD process. Pillar 4, Strategy 3, making the experience authentic. As you can see, that covered the entire day. We were making an authentic experience. In the exam, we had them fill out the plan, identifying the critical characteristics, the evaluation method, and defining what a passing test would look like. Part 2, they were completing the paperwork that was post-testing. So they had to take the testing paperwork and complete the CGD paperwork. This was a fill-in-the-blank process. It wasn't a multiple choice exam. A multiple choice exam would not be living up to making the experience authentic. We made this entire class as close to the real thing as our training environment would allow. We also built in breaks during the entire class. Pillar 3 Strategy 2, breaking the material into absorbable chunks. Each individual exercise was its own specific chunk. And that break but typically about 10 minutes, gave the brain time to consolidate and reset before the next exercise. And if you finished earlier, the break was extended. You got more time to do what you needed to do. What about the PowerPoint? Yeah, I built one, but I never used it. When we went to do the class, we found the one-on-one discussion, the PowerPoint didn't need it. So, if you've been keeping track, we just walked through the design of 2 separate learning experiences, each built around a specific job. The e-learning gave the engineers a cognitive foundation, the knowledge, the context, what a CGD was, what a critical characteristic of acceptance meant, and what information went where on the form. It spoke to where the learners actually were, Pillar 1, Strategy 1. It built on the prerequisite knowledge they had already obtained rather than starting from scratch. It was sequenced deliberately, Pillar 3, Strategy 1. Concept before form, section before block. And it chunked the material, Pillar 3, Strategy 2. 2 levels deep, ensuring the learner could absorb each piece before moving on to the next. Now, the ILT was designed to give the engineers the skill, the practice, the repetition across multiple dedication types in a structured, supported environment. It required meaningful action, Pillar 4, Strategy 2. Not describing what a CGD was or how it gets filled out, but actually doing one. It sequenced dedication types in the only logical order, Pillar 3, Strategy 1, and Pillar 2, Strategy 1. Normal before generic, generic before continuation, and a review before the exam. And we made that experience as authentic as we could, Pillar 4, Strategy 3. 2 lessons, multiple pillars, multiple strategies. Each one was applied where the project demanded it. They weren't implemented in sequence, and they weren't implemented in isolation. They were implemented in response to what the content and the learner required. And notice one thing. We didn't mention every pillar and every strategy. The 5 pillars are not a model, not a rigid model you have to follow step by step to be a successful instructional designer or create effective learning experiences. There will be times when not every strategy applies, but you need to have the majority of them to have a reasonable probability of success. The ones you skip should be a conscious decision, not an incidental oversight. And when we finished everything, we thought we had it right. In the next video, we talk about implementing our training solution and running a pilot of the ILT, where we find some of our assumptions we made were wrong and what we needed to do to ensure a successful learning outcome. If you found this video useful, like it and share it with someone in your network who designs training, or someone who has ever built something they were convinced would work only to watch it fall apart. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. I also release a new issue of my Substack every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, the Trident eLearning Weekly Grumble. Thoughts on instructional design, corporate learning and development, and whatever else is rattling around in my head. Possibly my pubs. If any of what you have resonates with you, there's a good chance something will resonate with you in the Grumble too. I've also included the link to it below. See you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.